I never know why. I only know who.
Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. Since we're only a couple days away from the Doctor Who Christmas special, I thought it was time to start the long cry goodbye by doing my top 11 Matt Smith moments. Starting on Sunday, I'm also going to start a week of Doctor Who and Sherlock vids in addition to a lot of my year-end best of lists, so be sure to subscribe to get everything. So let's get started. Geronimo, number 11. Amelia Pond wishes for a policeman in the 11th hour. This really helps set the tone for Matt Smith's Doctor as more of a low-key trickster figure than the Tennant or Eccleston Doctors ever were. People always joke about how Doctor Who is a show made for children, but because children have been watching it for so long, most of the audience are adults now. In one single moment, Amelia Pond wishes the Doctor into her backyard, making him the universe's best imaginary friend. And despite all the bad things that happened during his run, I always thought of him like a cartoon angel and devil sitting on your shoulders, telling you to do something really good and really bad at the same time. You will always get in trouble, but you will have so much fun doing it. Number 10. The Doctor's speech during Rings of Octen. This was one of those sad moments, despite it being this epic speech. You listen to the Doctor pour out all of his pain and anguish to this celestial entity. It was like a death by feels moment. The other important thing about the scene was that it really lets you know how much the Doctor needs his companions. If it was his job to heal little Amelia Pond as she grew up, then it was really Clara's job to heal him. Number 9, Amy's Choice and the Valeyard. I've seen a lot of you guys commenting that you think that Peter Capaldi is going to be the Valeyard, but I would argue that Toby Jones is the closest thing we've seen to him during Matt Smith's run. The Doctor even calls him a dark version of himself. Even though technically he was a figment of everyone's imagination, I think that making him imaginary just left Stephen Moffat a back door to cast someone else as the Valeyard in the future if he ever decided to. In case you're wondering, I don't think that Peter Capaldi is the Valeyard. Number 8, Amy Pond gets left behind during The Girl Who Waited. This was like Amelia Pond's 11th hour moment all over again. The whole episode was one of Amy's darkest timelines next to Angels Take Manhattan. The difference that makes it really heartbreaking is that it forces you to see how the experience has twisted her over time. You learn one of the saddest lessons of Doctor Who. The Doctor will always endure, but his companions do not. So despite having all of time and space to play in, the price for admission to the TARDIS is absolute. Be sure to take note of that for anyone who's planning on auditioning for a future companion role. Number 7, The Wedding of River Song and the silliness of fixed points in space and time. Despite being such a science fantasy story, this episode was utterly silly. The wedding itself was not my most favorite moment. It was the Sherlock montage as well as the happy ending that River Song got. River Song seems like the only one who ultimately gets a happy ending. If you consider her final version to be the one during Forest of the Dead, she actually seemed pretty happy with the way things turned out. I think the Doctor's endings are always rather ambiguous. The ending of the 50th anniversary was hopeful, but you knew that number 9 would still have to live with all that guilt, so it wasn't completely happy. So I feel like the ending of the Christmas special, The Time of the Doctor, will be hopeful, but it'll be so sad that you'll have a hard time celebrating. Number 6, Nightmare in Silver and the Cybermen Reveal. This was Neil Gaiman's second Doctor Who episode, and even though it doesn't hold a candle to the Doctor's wife, the reveal of the Cybermen was so much fun. It's a perfect metaphor for what life with the Doctor is like. You're constantly presented with these new shiny things, each more interesting than the next, but every time you pull the curtain back or unwrap that present, it turns out to be your worst nightmare. I feel like Doctor Who always works best when it balances science, fantasy, comedy, and horror in equal parts. Remember that Stephen Moffat quote, "Traumatize a generation, that's what it's all about." Number 5, Let's Kill Hitler and Matt Smith's Hail Mary save. What I loved most about the final act of this episode was that he really saved the day by showing Melody that the story of their lives was a comedy and not this doomed tragedy that she'd been brainwashed to believe. I consider her Melody in this episode just because she hadn't quite become River Song yet. It was actually in that moment that we watched the transformation of this psycho Melody into the silly River Song that we all know and love. The Doctor probably did not have to change into that tuxedo to save the day. What I love about the Doctor is that anytime he thinks it's the end, he always tries to go out like a true showman, which is why I cannot wait to see the final curtain call during the Christmas special. Number 4, Vincent and the Doctor. Life is a pile of good things and bad things. This is one of Doctor Who's most cry-worthy episodes. I love how Doctor Who plays with famous historical figures to teach us these existential parables. Life is a pile of good things and bad things. You can really take that lesson with you wherever you go. The episode also reminds you that despite all the sidestepping in episodes like The Wedding of River Song, there are certain fixed points in space and time that cannot be changed. Vincent has to die, and so does the Doctor. Number 3, Amy Pond's farewell and the Angels Take Manhattan. This, for me, in recent memory, was the most heartbreaking goodbye the show has ever had, at least just speaking from series 1 to now. Eccleston and Tennant said goodbye several times, and it was always heartbreaking, but it was usually under much less drastic circumstances, and usually it was they who were leaving, not their companions. You're totally welcome to present a counter argument to this, but I feel like after this episode, you feel like Amy loves Rory more than any other companion loves anyone else on the show. You could say that Rose Tyler's love for the Doctor is a close second, but an alternate version of her got to keep Hand Doctor, so she didn't quite make the sacrifice that Amy Pond made. Number 2, the 2012 Christmas special, I Never Know Why, I Only Know Who. It's always implied that despite the way he acts or misleads you, the Doctor ultimately always has everything figured out. But when he gave Clara the key, it really added this mystical quality to the show. Like, even though the Doctor is a man of science, he also has a lot of faith. Not so much faith in the sense of religion as evidenced by his war against the church, just faith in the sense of this really unknowable purpose. And my number 1 Matt Smith moment, the Doctor's ultimate wish fulfillment made reality, the Doctor's wife. Giving the TARDIS a face will go down as one of Neil Gaiman's greatest acts and one of the most fun episodes of Doctor Who of all time. This is like a reverse 11th hour story in a sense. Amelia Pond wished the Doctor into existence, twice technically if you count the first episode and the time during the Big Bang. But this time the Doctor's greatest wish is granted. No matter what River Song or Queen Elizabeth say, the Doctor married the TARDIS first. My favorite moment from this, as well as my favorite Matt Smith moment ever, was when the TARDIS told the Doctor that he had it all wrong. She stole him. It makes you feel like Doctor Who is really the TARDIS's story, and the Doctor is just passing through it. This might be the greatest mindfuck of all, but the TARDIS actually really does not change that much. It exists in all of time and space simultaneously. The Doctor changes in much more prominent ways, like the change from Eccleston to Tennant to Smith and now to Capaldi. So maybe we really are seeing Doctor Who from the TARDIS's perspective. So much to rethink about the way I view Doctor Who now. But let me know what your favorite Matt Smith moment is in the comments below. Like I said, Sunday I'll be doing a week of Sherlock and Doctor Who vids. I'll also be doing a lot of year-end best lists. Be sure to check back this weekend for some fun stuff too. Right now, click here for my breakdown of the Christmas special, and click here for my top 10 moments on Arrow this season. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys tonight. High fives.